8 planes have been scouring a remote patch of the southern Indian Ocean where several satellite images, including new ones this morning from France, show objects floating in the water. It's now been 15 days since the plane vanished with 239 people on board. Todd Curtis, our transportation contributor, joins us now from Newton, Massachusetts this morning. Todd, good morning. Earlier today, the French provided satellite images to Malaysian authorities showing potential objects in the southern search zone. Now, this comes on the heels of Australia and China both releasing their own satellite images. So, Todd, could these pictures be the same debris, and is this a good thing?
Well, first of all, it's a good thing because the more satellites, individual satellites are looking in this area, the better. As you may know, satellites occupy different orbits, which means they'll have different advantages at different times of the day. But whether or not this shows the same debris, that remains to be seen. The Australian organization in charge of the search just received these photos recently, and they haven't released any analysis of those photos. So we'll have to wait and see on that one.
So, Todd, what are the possible scenarios at this point?
Well, as far as the 3 different sets of photos, possible scenarios are it is something from the plane, it is something from, not from the plane, for example, a ship debris from things washing overboard from ships in the past, or it could be something completely different. It could be an anomaly in the photos where it appears to be an object but isn't, or it could be some naturally occurring event in the ocean that's not artificial. But without having ships on the surface actually picking this stuff up, or at least closely reviewing it, it'll be hard to say what this stuff is.
But Todd, is it possible that a 777 plane would have broken into smaller pieces than those picked up by the satellite?
Absolutely, because unless there's a controlled ditching, which is where the crew actually has some engine power left and is able to actually put it down softly into the water, it's very likely that in almost any other circumstance, an airplane hitting the water, an airplane that size, would break up into a lot of smaller pieces, with some of the lighter pieces floating after 14 or 15 days, possibly hundreds of miles.
Okay, but Todd, if these images prove to be another false lead, how much longer will this investigation continue?
I think the investigation will continue until there's something solid from the airplane. That is, until they actually pick up wreckage, if it's in the ocean, from the bottom of the sea. And although it'll be great to have wreckage floating, that is, it'll confirm whether or not the airplane was there, all signs and all the indications from the various search authorities indicate that the Southern Ocean, the Southern Indian Ocean, is where this airplane went down. So even if the surface search isn't very fruitful, they'll probably go into another phase, probably a much longer, much more sustained phase, where they'll systematically search the ocean floor.
Okay, so until they find a piece of the wreckage. But a bigger question, this crisis has put a pretty heavy burden on many countries to cooperate. So is it likely then that what could be valuable intel isn't actually being shared between the different countries involved?
Well, I think that's already the case because, for example, the satellite images that have been released have all been from commercial satellites. The countries involved may have other assets that are non-commercial in nature, which, because of their individual national security interests, they aren't necessarily going to share. And it's unclear whether or not information from those other assets are being analyzed and passed on to partners through some other means. This is the kind of thing where if it is happening, it isn't something that anyone will publicly come out and say. So we'll have to wait and see if the actions of the various countries indicate that they're actually using additional data, because the individual pictures that have been released so far are rather indistinct.
All right, we will be following that closely. Todd Curtis, Al Jazeera America transportation contributor, joining us from Newton, Mass. this morning. Todd, thanks so much for being with us.